Hi guys, welcome back to Out of the Well, episode 5. My name is Keith and I have Crystal and GJ with me again. Yep. And in the previous episode, we talked a little bit about our opinions on education. Today, in this episode, we are going to talk about we're going to get personal, alright, with our experiences with education and our personal definition of what we think education can mean. Okay, so JJ, when you think about education, what is the first thing that you think about that comes to your mind?
Okay, I mean, like the average undergraduate, right? When I think about education, I would think about books, lectures, tutorials, like studying for tests. Right? I think that's what most people would usually think about. However, like if you really look beyond that, there's actually a lot more. How do we define education? So the thing is, like most people would think that is all, like going to a good school, getting a good grades, that would be the be all end all, right? However, the thing that people should really focus is looking past that, which is what happens after I get that good grade, and then the good school. What's next? So the thing is, like school should be a stepping stone, in my opinion. To push you to the next step, and to fuel you to go further. But the thing is, that's not the end goal. The end goal is always what do you do, for a living. So the thing is, for this broad term like education, I think that people usually would associate it with school, right? But then I mean, in Chinese there's this saying like 活到老学到老, right? So it's like we should always be constantly learning, right? Education is just learning, and we think about how do we learn as a child. We actually didn't really have any school prior to maybe the age 1 to 5, right? And then but the thing is, we are still learning. We're just learning in different ways. So what's interesting is when you're learning in school versus learning outside, I feel that these are actually very distinct aspect of learning.
Right. Distinct aspect. What do you mean by distinct aspects of learning?
Okay. So in the way that we learn, let's say in a school, right, you'll usually be studying about a test. You'll usually be studying about a certain topic, and things get very structured. Like things are very linear.
Right. Okay.
I gotta learn about like maybe
you're being boxed up.
Yes, correct. Yeah, we gotta learn about like addition, and then learn about. I mean, definitely there's a reason to that. I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I'm just saying that there's a difference between learning on the streets compared to learning in school, right? Because the thing is, like for learning, right, what's so interesting is if we see things with our preconceived notion, if we have a certain framework, if we don't ask the right question, if we don't look in the right direction, chances are we are actually not able to learn a certain thing. Okay, let me explain this. It's a bit chaotic, right? Okay, so there's this guy named Jim Quick. I think all of you have seen his ads, maybe on Instagram or like some mega brain.
Look a bit like Mega Mind.
Okay. This very intelligent being. Okay, basically there's this sad part of his story, which is he actually had, I think, an accident where he had permanent brain damage. And back then he had this belief whereby he's not able to pick up things fast. He's not able to learn quickly, And I think back then he barely even articulate well, Yeah, he had trouble speaking as well. So what's so interesting is these limiting beliefs, he actually got rid of them. And right now he's one of the best brain coach.
Right.
I'm not sure what name you put that, okay, but basically he's able to memorize 100 names on stage. Yeah, and what's so interesting about his theory, right, what I really love is he actually invented this way of learning, which is called FAST.
What does it stand for?
So it's acronym FAST, right? So if you want to learn fast, you gotta follow the FAST. So for F is forget. Yeah, we gotta forget
what you know.
What you already know. Yeah. So the thing is like, when we when we think we know something, the paradox is it's harder for us to learn something. Yeah, because we did assume we already know.
Yes.
Right? What for I learn it, right? So it's sort of like
It's
a mental block.
in there, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so first is to forget what you already know and to forget that you think you know it, you know. Second is to forget all your limiting beliefs. Right? So last time we used to think that, oh, I'm stupid, I'm bad in grades, right? I'm bad in studying, I'm bad in chemistry, I'm bad in science, math, right? I'm bad in certain things, right? Yeah, so forget all your limiting beliefs because this doesn't benefit you anyway, right? And then like there's this quote also, it always seems impossible until it's done. You know, I think it's by Nelson Mandela, right? So things like it's always hard for us to believe we can do something until we achieve it. Then we realize, oh, actually I can run 2.4 in 9 minutes. Right? But before that, I say, oh, I can't do that.
I believe there's a story about this, right? That you were
Yes.
sharing with us earlier. Yeah, can you share with
correct.
everyone? Yeah, what's the story about?
Yeah. So the thing is like I think that the human mind can only perceive. Basically, our world is shaped by what we already know.
Yep.
So the thing is like, if we don't know about something, does it mean it's not possible? Right. Okay. So let me explain this. So there's this guy named Roger Bannister, and people name him the 4-minute mile man. You know. So what this means is actually back in the 1880s, right? It actually seems impossible to break this 4-minute barrier, whereby men are not able to run a mile in 4 minutes. You know, people will say that, oh, it's not possible. You know, it's just humanly not possible.
So there's a self-imposed limit.
Yes, correct. Yeah, so it's actually a psychological barrier, and they actually have this belief, you know, because people try and fail for over 80 years, right? Until this one guy come in, so his name is Roger Bannister, and then he got like 3 minutes and 59 seconds, you know. So he was the first person to actually break this record. And what's the most amazing thing is, just 46 days later, another guy broke the record, and she got 3 minutes and 58 seconds.
Just 46 days later.
Yeah, just 46 days later.
And
so
for like
so what happened? Like,
people
it's like 80 years, you know, people can't do it, right? And then like just 46 days later, another guy do it, 2 guys do it, right? And 3 months later, 3 runners actually broke that record, you know, in one race. You know, and then I think over a decade, a few thousand break that, right? So the thing is like, we should always ask ourselves, like, we should always look at the possibilities, you know.
Yes.
Like the reality we live in, you know, it's just what we know of. Yeah, and then a question I would like to pose for everyone is, if Elon Musk didn't create underground cars, you know, if Elon Musk didn't create recyclable rockets, and if he didn't find a way,
reusable rockets, you mean?
Yeah, reusable rockets. Okay, yeah. If he didn't find a way to integrate, you know, AI into our own biology, right? Does that make the things he do any less possible?
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Crystal, what do you think when we talk about education? Like, what does it mean to you?
I think theory learning aside, because everybody will go through that same process, right? Similar syllabus, even addition, subtraction, and everything else according to your levels. But I think to me, what education truly means, it's actually the first network that you're building, right? Even I mean, knowingly or unknowingly, that's your network, right? Since playgroup, you have this like group of playgroup friends. That ultimately people name that as childhood friends.
That's your social network.
Yeah, social network, childhood friends, right? And then primary school and then secondary school. I think everybody go through the same system. Maybe 10, 15 years later, right?
Yep.
What you actually achieve out of the system is, what you actually gain out of the system is what you achieve other than what you have learned in the syllabus. Meaning, network you have built, right? One thing. How to be a human. This kind of soft skills, I find it's what you need to learn through education. Yeah, because otherwise, I think with all the good skills that you have taken, what differentiates you is the personality building. Yeah, that's why I think like in the previous episode we also talked about teachers, right? How they nurture the students outside academics. I think holistic education is very, very important.
Right.
Yeah, for me I think the only I wouldn't say like kitty lah, but I think like I wish that we could have more focus in terms of having a more holistic education, more focus on CCAs and like interests that students have.
Right.
Yeah, because I think that is what makes a personality. help them find their footing in the society. I think these days we have trouble finding that. I wouldn't say that even myself I'm clear of what I want, and I think that is after effect of having to think within the box, right? You mentioned within the box, and after that, when right out of like education system, then like, okay, you need to be an entrepreneur now. Go think of ideas. You can do it out of the box. But it's like, hey, that's that isn't in my system, right?
Correct.
Suddenly I'm supposed to adopt that. Then how am I supposed to do
For your
that?
whole 17 years, you have been told to follow the system.
Correct. But I think these days it has been progressive though, because I've heard that, like, you know, my niece, she's learning coding, right? Which is, I mean, quite something that is quite relevant to the society, which I think is really great, because I think we have been always doing constant upgrades in terms of syllabus, making it more relevant. Yeah, but I really hope that, you know, we can see more holistic, and then of course, like, not say teaching of soft skills, creating situations whereby students are made to interact.
Correct.
And then of course, like, learn things about each other, different hobbies, different personality, and learn to accept them. I think like we need to accept that people are different, intrinsically different. Some of us got weird habits, every one of us has, and how to accept those differences, so that, you know, as we grow up, right, I think this will help us form like a better society, and more like inclusive.
Yeah, I think on that front, I think sometimes there's this question, you know, IQ versus EQ, right? Which is more important. So IQ stands for your intelligent quotient, and your EQ stands for your emotional quotient.
Right.
So just as a base, rough range, right? Standard IQ is around 100 to 120. These are the average. In Singapore, in China, and in India, the average IQ is a little bit higher, mainly because of the kind of rigor and intensity of education that these countries have received since the early age, when the students are still young. As for EQ, right, it's emotional quotient, and what it actually tells you about, right, is how good you are at managing your own emotions, as well as how good are you at sensing other people's emotions. And I'm coming from the front where I believe IQ can be changed. Yeah, I believe IQ, critical thinking, it can be grown. Basically, it's known as the growth mindset. Basically, you may be born maybe at a certain set of intelligence level. But I have this belief that it can be grown. Your baseline intelligence can be improved based on the amount you learn, the amount of books you read, or the knowledge that you absorb. But the question is, which is more important? Right, in life, which is more important. So I think that is the controversial topic, in a sense, that people are discussing about in different groups. I hold to the belief that actually EQ is more important than IQ. Now, I believe that because, especially with technology, IQ become less and less relevant compared to in the past. Because right now you have group thinking, in a sense, you have herd intelligence, right? You can tap into the intelligence of not just one individual, but in Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, you tap into the intelligence of multiple people, you know. But what's going to stand out is your ability to connect with these people. So then it ties in again with what Crystal has mentioned, which I totally agree with you. It would be great if education companies, maybe government as well as tuition agencies, tuition centers, we can do more in terms of growing students' social skills and soft skills. That I believe.
Yeah, I really agree on whatever you have mentioned, because like linking back to your point, right, about how a school, you know, or how just being around your friends, your peers of the same age, you know, of the same phase in life, right, actually help to build connections, and then you actually learn things outside your school, you know. So the thing is, like, it's actually very hard for us to teach emotional intelligence, or like very hard for us to teach social awareness, you know, how to sort of like read people's emotion, how to say the right words, do the right things at the right time, in the right situation, right? So I believe all these, it goes back to experience. Yeah, there's one part where you say that we have to experience it, you know, and then you have to learn it, you know. So things like all this cannot be done in the forms of like books, you know, like, oh, like, you gotta know that this is anger, this is sadness, all this something. It's so like there may be an emotion that is not defined, you know. Like going back to intelligence as well, like IQ and EQ, right? Because there's this book that I read, I forgot what name. Yeah, but there's multiple intelligence that we are also unknown of, you know, like rhythmic intelligence, you know. That's where like people with like musically inclined, right? And then there's also like spatial intelligence, right? There's the people who are driving or able to like, make sense of the 3D, the geographical world, you know, around us, right? There's like intrapersonal intelligence. You know what you want, you have clarity over your emotion, over your goal.
Interesting.
You're not really you don't really cave into external
Yep.
sort of temptations, right? And then you have interpersonal intelligence. So the list go on and on, right? There's also intelligence that we are not aware of, today. Yeah. So I would just like to open our mind up, towards
That's
this.
good. Yep. So in essence, right, I believe that for those people who are studying in school right now, can be secondary school, poly, even university students, our very own friends, very own circle. One thing that I would like to encourage is actually to think beyond what we are doing right now. So right now I'm studying in SIT. I'm a pharmaceutical engineering student, and the natural route is to be a engineer, right? Pharmaceutical engineer. I would encourage myself, even people around me, to go and think, what sort of engineer do you want to be, and what kind of change do you want to have, do you want to make in your career in the future?
Yes.
Because these are questions that are not too early to think about. Because the clearer you are about your vision, the clearer you are about your goals, the more you think about them, you minimize the chance of regret in the future.
Right.